Hello.
Good. Hi. Good evening, guys. Good evening, Chumbing. So, week two of 2021, and yet another good company, I would say. Today's company is also not a bad company. It's also quite very well managed, in a very consumable business, I would say. And if you are an active Kaya Plus viewer of our late night show, you would have listened to my ramblings and sharings that if I want to invest or buy in a business, preferably the business must be in consumable business, or it can the growth or the revenue can stack, meaning once you buy something, once you buy the company's product, and then if it's nice, you will continue to buy. And if 10 people also feel the same thing, then suddenly the company has a recurring 10 people buying the same products from them. This will be different from companies that are selling machinery, selling huge heavy assets. That one usually you only incur a one-off sales to a respective client only. So consumer business has its own benefits and advantage. If you do it right and if you are in a right niche, then you will see that it's quite simple and easy to grow your business. So yeah, Magni-Tech is one of these company. It is in the apparel business. So all of us, we need to wear clothes, right? And some of us who likes to go for exercise or indulge in sport activities, it will be more appropriate or suitable if we were to wear sports apparel when we go for our job or when we go to our sport. So Magni-Tech is one of these companies that is in the sports apparel business mainly, and they service reputable and famous clients. Later we will show you guys. But if you do know who is Magni-Tech key client, you can let us know in the comment section who is Magni-Tech's key clients apart from Nike. We show it in the title already. So yeah, EC, hello. Good to see you back, and I hope today's Not So Late Night show will also be beneficial sharing with you guys. But before we go in and when we wait for more people to join, maybe I ask Chumbing. Chumbing, what do you think about Magni-Tech, or do you have a preferable brand when you buy for sports apparel? Do you particularly like Nike or Adidas or yeah, whatever brands you like?
For me, I think I don't have any particular preferred brand, but then it also have been a while that I have decided to go with the branded stuff, especially for sportwear. For the fact of the quality, just let you use it for a longer period. Last time I tend to be very calculative, then I go for those that's technically cheaper or more cost effective, but end up when I use it for a couple of months or even years, then you found out those good brand really last longer. So I think Nike is one of the good example, but of course I don't really restrict myself to Nike. I also have look into Adidas and so on. But then being a calculative people, so typically I go to the outlet lah to get the best deal.
Good. Yeah, I think some people will have a certain affiliation with a certain brand. Some are team Nike, some are team Adidas, some team Puma. And then sometimes they just don't mix and match with each other. So they are pure die-hard brand advocates to whatever brand they believe in. So I think someone has hinted or have rather mentioned Magni's nickname in Mandarin. So in the Mandarin speaking community, sometimes we like to give names to certain listed companies just because that the English name sounds like a certain word in Mandarin. So Magni actually it sounds like Magni in Mandarin, which means a pretty woman. So yeah, someone has a tag or commented Magni-Tech. Homo. The name sounds like a Magni in Mandarin. And yeah, hi Willie and hi Willie. So I think we can start. We don't. Let's get the raw rolling and go into today's company, Magni-Tech Industries Berhad. So the question will be, since it's Nike supplier, will the earnings of Magni-Tech grow with Nike? That means if Nike grow, straight away Magni-Tech will grow also. You can find out later. We have do a little bit of digging, and then once that comes out, you can ask yourself whether Magni-Tech is going to be a Nike proxy, since if you don't get to invest in US stocks. So as always, our Stock Plus 2021 is still open for registration. Inside here, you get 10 stocks, which we think still holds a lot of potential for the year 2021. And yeah, to also be very transparent with you, this is one of the stocks inside 2021 Stock Plus. If you have bought this stock at the 4th of January, the first day when 2021 the market opens, this is a Malaysia listed company, and if you hold it until now, this is the capital gains that you will be holding. So this is one of the companies that we pick back in year end, and then as of now, 14th of January, it has already give 17.81% capital gain. So if you are interested to find out this company, and we are still thinking, hoping, and very positive that it will not just be standing at 17.81. If the current condition continues, this company can even go further. And if you want to know more about this company, or you want to know of all the 10 combinations inside Stock Plus 2021, you can head to the comment section. We will be pasting the link. Just 88 ringgit per pax, divide by 365 days is just 24 cents. Or if you divide by 10 stocks, it's just 8 ringgit, 80 cents per stock. And yeah, if you're interested, you can just head on there, and we look forward to seeing you at the 30th and 31st of January. And as always, back to the main character of tonight. The disclaimer, this is just purely sharing and education purposes video. We are not here to ask you to buy, sell, or hold any security stack. It's mentioned or even discussed throughout the entire video. And please don't ask us tough questions and put it into not so good condition, since the securities Malaysia is getting very tough on online stock market sharing. So yeah, Magni-Tech Industries Berhad. So this company is not old. It actually incorporated in 1997. And only 3 years later, then they got listed on the second board of Bursa Malaysia. Then within 3 years, it went to the main board, and it started off as a packaging business, right? Ever since it founded until 2006, it has always been a pure packaging company. But in the year 2006, it completed an acquisition of a company called South Island Garments in Berhad, an apparel manufacturer, and then they started to build on the apparel business, and it has since become the apparel company that we know of today. And this is a company that is not just Malaysia operations, but also has its operations in Vietnam. So yet another company listed in our Malaysia Stock Exchange, but having an international coverage of business as well. So what is Magni-Tech all about? Maybe I'll pass the ball to Chun Bing. Chun Bing, what does Magni-Tech Industries Berhad do for the business?
Yeah, I think it's quite straightforward. Also covered in the previous slide. So this is the two main business pillar that is supporting them.
Hello. Chun Bing, you there?
Yep, I think some issue.
Okay.
Maybe you can continue first.
Okay. So yeah, So Magni-Tech is in the apparel business, as you mentioned. They started off at the packaging business, the second picture. But once they bought over the South Island apparel, then they really went hard and fully focused into the apparel. As of today, both business pillars are still intact, just that the apparel business contributes to more of the revenue and profits to the company. And if you look at the corporate structure, when you were to buy, if you were to buy into Magni-Tech Industries Berhad, the share, you'll be buying into the so-called holding company, and underneath this holding company, there are three subsidiaries, mainly South Island Garments Union Berhad, the company which they bought in 2006 and transformed them into a garment making company. Then they also have South Island Plastics Union Berhad. This is the flexible plastic packaging company. And last but not least, you have the Inter-Pacific Packaging Union Berhad. So this is in the corrugated packaging, the cartons. So very straightforward. When you talk about packaging company, some of the packaging company, they do both, especially for those that are in the simple flexible plastic packaging. So they'll do that, and they'll do corrugated packaging as well. And you think about Magni-Tech's business, straightforward. They manufacture the garment, and they need to pack the garment. So somehow or other, this flexible plastic packaging and also the corrugated packaging will in some ways also support the garment manufacturing as well. So there is some synergism there, and it's a good thing to have such an arrangement and such a vertical to complement the entire business. So let's head on to the breakdown. How many percent of Magni-Tech's sales is coming from garments? How many is coming from the packaging materials? Maybe I'll let Chun-Bing take this one.
Yeah, so like what I mentioned just now, the sales of garments is actually bringing the most of the revenue, and then you can see from it, and then this is building up from a couple of years lah. So when the acquisition happened, it didn't actually become the major pillar of it until they work throughout the year. Then it become the key thing that bring in the business, and this is how people link Magni-Tech to Nike. I mean, usually when we do a research on this, I think this is the first thing you will see. The OEM behind Nike is actually Magni-Tech. Yeah.
So it's a good thing you see that they actually grew their revenue, and a huge portion of it is coming from the garment section. So zooming down to the geographical, of course we talk about this company having its operations in Malaysia and also in Vietnam, but we talk about sales. If you were to sell Nike branded stuffs, or if you do OEM, chances are you don't only sell Nike products or apparel just in Malaysia or Vietnam. So Nike is a global brand, and it would be straightforward to actually see Nike branded apparels or jerseys or whatsoever going international. So you can see that a huge chunk of it is going back to US, since Nike is a US company. Europe is also one of the key export regions, and you also have China as well. Of course, China is also one of the so-called hardcore fans of basketball, and you also know that Nike also has a strong brand recognition, not only just in football but also in basketball. So yeah, you can see that all these three regions, or these three mega countries, yeah, they have a huge percentage of the revenue contributions to Magni-Tech. And last but not least, you can also see some also other smaller contributions to our home country, Malaysia, South America, North America, Australia, Africa, and others as well. And yeah, you can see most of the time the sales is on an increasing trend, especially for the USA and also for China, if you compare the latest 2020 versus the 2019. So how reliant or how important Nike is to Magni-Tech compared to the other customers that maybe Magni-Tech services? Chun-Bing, how important Nike is to Magni-Tech?
Yeah, if you do a quick max, then you will find out this is like the one that feed all the worker from Magni-Tech, because 90% of the entire revenue come from government, and then within the 90% of it come from Nike. So you can see how influencer is this major company contributing to Magni-Tech. It's very close to another example, which is Great Tech that is reliant on First Solar. So it's
Yep.
like everything also come from one single major customer. And then of course, you can see them as a proxy when you do the analysis, meaning when Nike do good, technically Magni should follow.
I see, I see. So should or does that correlate? Later we will show you guys how correlated Nike is with Magni-Tech. So that's a good question, pending to be answered. So if you were to look at Magni-Tech's historical income statement or the profit and loss, the first thing I see that there's some good trends there. The revenue is growing, but when it reached maybe in the year of 2017, 2018, 2019, it just stayed quite flat, right? From 1.1 billion to 1.079 billion, and then hovering around 1.07 billion before in 2020 it went up to 1.2 billion, and that was even during the peak of the pandemic that year particularly. So of course 2020, you look at that 2020 April 30th means that most likely the sales are all covered until the end of 2019, and then the annual report only come out that particular quarter. But if you look at the 2 quarters of 2021, you can see that now these 2 quarters add up to almost 50% of what 2020 is. So chances are it could be a flattish 2021 compared to 2020. But the thing that you would be a bit more worried would be the margins, because the margins actually came down by a bit if you compare to 2020. But nonetheless, if you look back historically around the for the past few years, the trend, the profit margin has been going up. Then back in 2018, it just came down to 8.5% from 10.5%. So you dig deeper, and then one of the reasons would be since one of these operations of Magni-Tech is in Vietnam, so on that particular year, they experienced some minimum wage changes. So the minimum wage got increased, and that actually increased the cost of manufacturing for Magni-Tech. And you have to pay more salary, so automatically the profit margins get impacted a bit. But does that mean that you should be afraid or think that Magni-Tech would forever be impacted by the rising labor costs? What about the other aspects of it? What about the balance sheet of the company? Is the company healthy or not? Maybe Chun Beng will want to take this one.
Yeah, I think they run the company quite well, in the sense that whatever they did or whatever contract they managed to secure, they is always able to churn the profit straight away without the need of doing financing from different institutions. So they have been able to keep their debt to zero for numbers of years. And then if you can see from the cash and cash equivalent section, it's on an increasing trend, especially the last 3 years. So it's quite healthy. In a way, it will show its strength during times like this, where pandemic hits, and then you might have a lot of stock, leave it there, cannot sales, but then your cash is actually big enough to cover all these things, and you will be able to get through the pandemic.
Yeah, I think this is one very good sign. Apart from the company is in a very competitive business, it's in a good business. It's competitive, but at least the overall method how the company is being run is very well managed. So you have a company with zero debt, and then has been reporting quite good profits, and then the cash and cash equivalents has been on an increasing trend. And even if you look the Q2 2021 portion, total assets is around 0.76 billion ringgit, and almost half of it is in cash. So this company is not short of cash, but you will need to ask yourself the question: how will this cash be put to good use? Will the cash be put up to invest and grow the business, the company further by building a new plant, adding a new line, or will there be a potential special dividend since if there is no further growth in this industry? So you have to ask this kind of question. It's in a good balance sheet position, but you still have to ask questions: how will the cash be utilized? And last but not least, cash flow statement is showing quite good results as well. So this company, if you net off everything, you add back the adjustments for the depreciation whatsoever, the company is bringing in cash flow, and of course, due to that, the free cash flow is on a positive sign, and then the free cash flow will just add up year by year as the company slowly grows its business as well. Quite straightforward lah. So if you see there is no huge fluctuation, that means that they don't pay out special dividend for the past 3 years, and then there is no huge capex also for the past 3 years, and business is stable for the past 3 years as well. Straightforward. So who are the management of the company, and should we take a deeper look if who are the owners of the company? Maybe Chun Beng, you want to take this one?
Yeah, I think majority of it is actually held by the Tan family, and then of course you can see the second one is actually KP Holding Industries Berhad. It's actually a holding or deemed interest from one of the director. If we can zoom into the in the next slide. I think it's quite healthy lah. Because they still control majority of the stake as in the original founder, and then this is the key driver for them to grow the thing further. So if you can see here, right, just now the second one called KP Sdn Berhad, holding Sdn Berhad, they are holding 13.1. Actually, it's actually belong to this Dato Seri Tan Kok Ping lah. So it's Tan family, they hold majority of the share, and then don't have any red signal. It's quite straightforward lah. Yep.
Cool. So I think this is quite a relatively straightforward company. The business is easy to understand, and then yeah, one thing good about this company is that sometimes if you're in the highly competitive business, right, you need to have very good marketing and sales plan. So companies like Nike, they are very flashy and very outspoken when it comes to their advertisements, right? So if Nike managed to come up with a good product, and then they manage to catch hold of our attention, and then we suddenly want to look cool with Nike or whatsoever, automatically if Nike does this right, then automatically they will buy more stocks from Magni-Tech if Magni-Tech helps to manufacture specifically for the apparels as well. So straightforward, they don't need to think about what is marketing and what is sales. Basically, if Nike does well for the apparel, chances are Magni-Tech will also benefit from it. But as we know, if you talk about sports apparels, all these kinds of apparel sales, it links heavily to the sporting events that are happening around the world. So 2020 was an unfortunate year. It was supposed to have the every 4 years once Olympic Games and also the FIFA World Cup, right? So of course, due to the height of the pandemic, these major sporting events got cancelled or delayed, and of course it somehow rather would impact the catalyst for Magni-Tech to report better results lah. So but as we slowly inch towards a recovery phase with vaccines already roll out, and some of the parts of the world has already get vaccinated, there is high hopes that things can return to normal, and global sporting events can continue, and maybe that would spur Magni-Tech's performance if any of these prospective positive news were to come earlier than expected lah. So that gives the prospects if you want to invest in a company that is poised to benefit from sporting events around the world. But there's also risks. Maybe I'll let Chun Bing take over this. What are the risks you should look at if you want to invest or considering to invest Magni-Tech?
Yeah, from the business perspective, is on a very traditional factory or manufacturing kind of business. The worker is the key resources. Of course, a lot of people will say, when we enter the industry 4.0 era, there will be some form of robotics or automation that try to replace them. But then this one involve a lot of capital expenditure, and then not everything can be done automatically. So minimum wages are still very crucial to Magni, and it already happened once in back in 2018, and it hit about 2% of the margin, which is dropped from 10 to about 8. And then all this while they are making about 9, 10. So this is about 20% hit to the profit margin. So it's quite painful lah. But then this will continue to come. I think it's just whether Magni can catch up with some form of automation, which unfortunately it didn't mention much in a lot of sources, be it news or even inside the annual reports. So this is some signal that we should keep an eye on whether they are really into automation. But from the recent annual report, the answer is no lah. So this is something that is a bit worrying from investor investor perspective. The next two is straightforward lah. They rely on Nike. It can be the risk. It can be the prospect as well. So when Nike outrace Adidas or whatnot, of course they will be the one the benefactor from it. Lastly, most of the trade is done in USD, and then Malaysian ringgit is on the strengthen, as in USD is actually depreciate against most of the currency. So you have some minor short-term impact to Magni, but I think long-term wise should be able to back on track lah.
Cool. So I think these are all very realistic or very real kind of risks that Magni-Tech is facing in this kind of business. So yeah, you need to really hope that the company can continue to be operated efficiently, not just from the resources, how the company spends its profits and manages the cash flow, but the business, how the business is run at the shop floor. Do they require a lot of labor? Is it labor intensive? And if the labor minimum wages continues to hike upwards, then it will definitely spell some impact to the net profit of Magni-Tech. And some of us actually invest in Magni-Tech for various of reasons, because it's cheap or because it is a good dividend paying company and there's no debt. But bear in mind, if the company gets hit by the operating efficiencies or whatever expenses, it will mean less profit, and less profit would definitely means less dividend. So this is the kind of risk or analysis that you have to do before you actually be very confident that companies like Magni-Tech is able to be a solid and predictable kind of dividend paying company. So does it always can you be very confident and very certain that if Nike does well, Magni-Tech will also do well? So this is the actual breakdown of Nike Inc.'s revenue segmentation. So you can see Nike, we all know Nike is a company that's in sporting products, sporting goods products kind of company. So they have sneakers, they have even those fashionable footwear, and then in apparel, it's not just jersey, it's also a normal tee. You have jacket as well. Then you also have the sweatpants, all kinds of apparels, all kinds of sports apparels. And then last but not least, you have the equipment. So maybe the water bottle or the gym bag, which has the Nike logo. So that counts as the final 3% of Nike Inc.'s total revenue breakdown. So apparel only stands about 31%. And we're talking about general apparel as a whole, where Nike lumps up everything. I don't believe Magni-Tech manufactures all the apparel that Nike is selling. So maybe a small subsegment, maybe the so-called jerseys and the sports-related kind of apparel. Magni-Tech has a revenue connection with Nike Inc. And the big portion is from footwear. As you all know, sporting shoes are getting quite expensive these days. So it's also a proxy where Nike and Adidas has been putting in more effort and also more focus into rolling out better looking shoes and also footwear. So you can see that footwear is actually the more profit generating kind of SKU, and both companies actually focus a lot on that. While on apparel, you cannot just charge exorbitant price on just a piece of jersey, right? So if you look back at Nike's growth, they are slowly putting more focus on footwear, and if the apparel business gets impacted, then it wouldn't be also a good news for Magni-Tech, since they are only in the apparel business. They do not make equipment. They also do not make footwear for Nike. So these are the things that you have to think deeper. It is a Nike beneficiary, but just a small segment within the apparel scene, and it's not just straight away biggest client. Then Nike do well, they will do well. You have to do a deeper analysis and you have to do a deeper reasoning before you straight away assume as it is lah. So food for thought lah. So last but not least, what kind of price or value that Magni-Tech is giving if you are an interested investor looking at the company. So it's a very cheap company, right? 8 times PE, and then the ROE is reasonably good, around 17%. And then my only concern would be the profit margin is at the high single digit or low double digit region. And dividend yield is at 6%. So of course the share price got a little bit beaten down. That's why you get the good dividend yield over there. And it's also below the NTA, or no, it's a little bit above the NTA as well. But yeah, Chun Beng, what are your thoughts? Having a PE 8.88 times company and with a dividend yield of 6.19%. Your opinion?
I mean, Magni has been having quite consistent dividend payout policy. I think it's about 31%. And the fact is they don't really have debt. All the contract they get is a money making kind of business, and they didn't really enter into any risk before. But I think why it was actually traded at this price down to even PE 8, I think it's mainly due to the uncertainty of the pandemic, and it led to a lot of delay, or I don't think cancel. I mean a lot of delay to all the mega sports event. So but then of course trading or investing is in stock market is about it's much more forward looking in a sense. It's just no one can actually see the future yet in a way. It don't have the light that Japan numbers is going down, that they have the confidence they can do Olympic anytime soon. So all these things is actually reflected in the share price. I think it's quite fair. But of course, if you were looking it from a dividend point of view, I think it's quite stable in a way. But of course, if you take this compare with the company that we have covered last week, Scientex, then maybe Scientex give a very good track record over 5 to 10 years, and is showing double digit growth, but in terms of percentage on a year-to-year perspective. So it's quite impressive. But then come to Magni is used to be perform like superstar, I think 2 to 3 years ago. Now it was corrected quite a little bit. The only good thing that you can anticipate is when the pandemic is over, everything come back, it definitely will show a very positive result. And then you don't know when is the lowest that you can come in, but none of us can predict the future. So you can keep an eye on it. You may be able to get into a very low price that you can enjoy a very good dividend yield in coming years.
Okay. I think that's a very good opinion on Magni-Tech. So I think if you ask me, right, I think Magni-Tech has its own pros and benefits. But do keep in mind, Magni-Tech is not the only apparel in the Malaysian market, right? And apparel making, especially for OEM, usually the best quality with the best price win. As of now, Magni-Tech has a certain kind of quality and also certain kind of advantage that is providing that it holds Nike as one of its key clients and is a good client. So whether this kind of advantage can continue, and whether Magni-Tech will come in the more competitive kind of fight or more strict kind of competition with other apparel maker in Malaysia. So this is food for thought. To analyze it further and also do a little bit of peer-to-peer comparison with the other apparel makers in Malaysia. Then yeah, if you like the business and if you think you found the better one to invest your money in, then by all means, good luck. And I think that's about it for today's company. Straightforward and easy to understand. And last but not least, here's another flasher of our Stock Plus 2021. Do join us at the end of January for full day event, 30th and 31st. And we will talk in detail, in depth of these 10 stocks that we think could be high potential for 2021 and beyond 2021. So this is not just they'll just shine for 2021. It's just that the near term and mid term prospects for this company would be of very, very good prospects and condition for them to further grow. So that's about it. We shall head on to the comment section and see what are the questions that are out there. Okay. The first question is coming from Angie. Fact that e-commerce is taking over retail, would it affect the sales of Nike? Angie, if you were to, or if you are an online shopper, you will notice that companies like Nike and even Adidas, they also have their storefront, their online store within the online world. So you can buy their products from Nike.com. You can even buy Adidas products from Adidas.com. If you don't go to the shopping mall or the retail places during the pandemic. And if you are someone who buys stuff from Taobao, Shopee, or even Lazada, I think these sporting brands also have a presence. They open up their own online store within this so-called e-commerce app as well. So I don't think it would impact the sales. Rather than I would say that it just makes it more easier for us to shop. Previously, if you cannot control your shopping, you can just stop yourself from going to a shopping mall. But now, with a handphone in your hand and with these apps installed, you can just be buying anything while you're on a train or while you are, waiting for your friend at a cafe. So it has been more easier for us to buy stuff now compared to previously when we are not so connected to the internet world. So I think sales could be even better. And I think Nike has share price has went up because they reported better digital sales, because they pivoted and they really grow a lot in terms of their digital revenue. Hi, Dunstan. If you were to take the trailing dividend payout versus today's price, yes, this would be the dividend yield, because straightforwardly, dividend yield can be manipulated if the share price falls way too fast versus the upcoming dividend payout. So of all the investment websites where you get your numbers, usually they will just straightforward tell you what's the trailing dividend yield, meaning the last payout dividend versus the share price as of today. So yeah, I think the share price took a bit of beating, and which is why we see that the dividend yield actually got a bit distorted lah. And I think it's because I don't think there's any other event. Previously in 2019 they did a bit of bonus issue and subdivision, but that was back in 2019 lah. So now it's already 2021. So I think that's it's mainly due to the share price that's affecting the dividend payout ratio, dividend yield payout number. Okay. Next one. What is your opinion regarding the chairman's refusal to read out MSWG's questions and Magni's answer to the rest of the shareholders at the Magni 22nd AGM? I think this one is a bit, how to say, personally, I think Magni-Tech is still a very traditional run company, in a way traditional Chinese run company, and of course there will be some questions asked to the management of company which they think they are put in a tight situation. I think this one we have no, how to say, comments on what they did was right or wrong. But typically, from what I understand, in such a global event or such a public event, if they think that the answer does not benefit the company overall, that's why they chose to ignore or not to read out the questions. But you also have to think from another way. Does the MSWG's questions make sense or not? Are they asking a legit questions, and are these questions something that we potential investors should take note and dig deeper? If you're not comfortable with what the current practices that they are doing, then by all means, this could be a company that you want to avoid. But if it's just a small matter to you, then probably you will want to take it with a pinch of salt, and the company management is just doing what they think is right for themselves and also the company lah. But I don't think I have any comments on their approach to this MSWG's questions asked during the AGM. So, well, today's quite fast, huh? I think quite straightforward company, and there's really nothing much to dig deeper lah. If you want to talk about company like Magni-Tech, but if you guys do have any other questions, even not related to Magni-Tech, you can let us know in the comments. We will try our very best. And while waiting for more questions to ask, if there's any, we just like to give you a little bit of sharing. So if you guys know that Not So Late Night Show has been quite around for almost 1 year plus, and we have been talking about Malaysia stocks for every time, right? And I think it's time for us to make things a little bit more interesting. We are slowly trying to talk about stocks from other parts of the world as well, say for example US, and this can be stocks from the US stock market, and sometimes we might even look into stocks from Singapore, China, Hong Kong, etc., etc. But we also know that most of our viewers are investing in the Malaysian market. We will try to do a little bit of alternative companies. So maybe one week we will be Malaysia companies, one week it will be US companies, and then Malaysia companies again, and then US companies again. So we'll try and introduce something new. 2021, we hopefully think that it should be a year where things improve, and I think this is one of the way Not So Late Night Show can improve as well, since there is a limited number of stocks in Malaysia. If we continue to talk like that, we continue to even discuss one company every week, sooner or later we will run out of companies to discuss. And if you want Not So Late Night Show to continue running for as long as it can, we have to talk about stocks from other countries, and hopefully it would also bring benefits for you guys to actually see what are the companies out there in the whole wide world. So the questions came back already. So, sorry. Lee Jong-hui, do you think the incoming international sport events like Olympic and Euro Cup will beneficial to Magni-Tech incoming revenue, and why? Maybe I'll let Chun Bing answer the question.
I mean, of course, short answer is yes, but then it also depends on whether Nike is an official sponsor of the events or official sponsor to certain team. So, take example, for FIFA World Cup, different football team from different country might take a different sponsor. So if Nike is covering quite a number of the country, then of course it will bring immediate impact to Magni. And then not only on the football events, Olympic as well. I would say for Tokyo 2020, Nike should be one of the company that sponsor quite a lot from different uh, uh, sports category and in terms of sportswear. So it should have a direct impact. But then the question now is when it will come, and then is the skill going to be the same or do you reduce the skill? I mean, a lot of unknown.
I think that's a very good analogy. So sometimes I think if you look at how people compare Adidas and Nike during the major sporting events, they will straight away tell you, okay, say for example, FIFA World Cup, you're going to have 32 teams playing, right? So of these 32 teams, how many teams is sponsored by Nike? How many teams is sponsored by Adidas, right? Since these two are the big names in the football world. So they will do a breakdown and then they also do a deeper analysis. Okay, yeah, maybe Nike can be having more countries sponsored, but Adidas sponsored countries more football crazy. They tend to be having more football fans buying a certain country's jersey. So that actually makes more sense to predict or to bet that certain sporting companies can overachieve in terms of the revenue when it comes to any big sporting events as well. So this might be the thing that you want to, take note of if you want to either invest in Nike, Adidas, or the Nike proxy like Magni-Tech. So, Steve, thanks for the sharing. Missed the earlier session. No worries. You can always rewatch it on YouTube. How many times you want. So it's up there for a longest time period. Do they have any production plant besides Vietnam? Any impact due to the pandemic? Maybe I'll also let Chun-Ming take this one.
So far, I think they have the operation in Malaysia and Vietnam. Definitely, the Malaysia part is actually getting the impact during the early day of MCO, but not for now. I mean, the MCO 2.0, they are still allowed to operate. For Vietnam, from number perspective, actually, what Vietnam is doing quite well in terms of fighting against the pandemic. Of course, we don't know the actual situation. But the number, it seems well, it don't really have a very direct impact that they need to shut down the operation of the factories.
Yeah.
I think the bigger impact is from the sales side, not on the production side.
Yeah, I think well put, Junwei. So next, Mr. Hanafi, besides the prospects of resumption of sporting activities worldwide, are there any exciting growth prospects for Magni's apparel and packaging segments? I think you're looking at a company or business model where it's, I would say, quite predictable in a way like if they continue to perform, give this kind of quality and this kind of cost to Nike, and Nike is happy to continue with them, then it's just bread and butter. So you see, the business is so predictive that they just manage to grow their profits without any debt financing. And then even during tough periods like this, they are holding around 50% of their assets in cash, right? So this is a company that managed to generate cash and is not afraid of any liquidity issues as well. But the thing is, this company, as we saw, that is quite reliant in Nike, but not the other way around. Nike relies on its footwear business more than it relies on the apparel business and Magni-Tech, right? So in a way, Magni-Tech's fortune is tied to Nike's apparel business, but not the other way around. So you would have to see that whether Nike has any plans or any marketing push to actually grow the apparel business. From our understanding, apparel business is quite very hard to pivot and to make something out of the box, think out of the box. But for sneakers, apparently it's quite lucrative. I think if you are following the branded sneakers that either Adidas or Nikes are making, people will queue before the sporting houses or the so-called outlets open their doors, and then once the doors open, they will just rush inside just because they are buying a limited edition pair of sneakers. So you don't see this kind of craze happening to the apparel. So from that, I think that it's quite difficult to make apparel that crazy for the overall public to buy, but sneakers somehow or rather they managed to crack the code lah. V is asking, I believe that many investors have asked this question. Magni has been relying to the single largest client. Would it be too risky if they lose this client? Yes, definitely. So if you ask me personally, just for me lah, personally, I think this risk is too huge for me, and I don't think there are a lot of economic mode for Magni to hold its spot if they were to, I want to maintain their business relationship with Nike. I'm not saying that definitely it won't continue, but I say it's just quite risky lah. Nike can just find a better apparel maker out there, and then once the current contract or deal ends, then yeah, it's possible for them to entirely switch out or to move certain percentage to be allocated to another apparel maker. Yes, straightforward. And for this personally, I think I'm not going to consider Magni at any time, just because it's one of the key risks that I am afraid of lah. But I don't know about Chun Bing. Do you share the same opinion, or you look at it from a very positive way? Like because Magni is so good at what it's doing, that's why Nike is one of their clients.
I don't think so lah. I mean, usually if you're not on the upstream, you are the one chosen by them, not you should, you are the, I say not another way around lah. So the risk is always been there. It's just you don't know when it will happen. They are good because they choose to actually set up the factory in Vietnam in the earlier day. Not earlier, I mean only 2-3 years ago, which tap into a lower human resource cost kind of thing. If they didn't do this move 2 years ago, I was maybe Magni biggest client is not Nike anymore in a way lah. So, but what's next after setting up a plant in Vietnam? We really don't know, because like what I say, there isn't a lot of investment being put into place to do more in terms of automation. So workers still the most important asset to the company. Yeah.
Yeah, I think another way you can also think back and counter back the argument is that this company is having cash on its hand, and if the next place to manufacture things cheaply is another country, yeah, I think it's possible for Magni-Tech to also repeat what they did back then. Vietnam back then was a place that I think is quite cost efficient in terms of human capital and or labor costs, so they went there. So let's say, for example, if Vietnam cost becomes not too efficient, at least this company has saved up the money, saved up the profits, and then they can build a similar plant in the next cost efficient country. So you have to really justify yourself and then weigh the risk and reward decision at your end as an investor. So the risk is there, but how does the company management mitigate the risk? So easy, I think is a Man United fan. Next, you have Michael. Michael is asking, what are the notable peers to Magni in the garment business segment in Malaysia? How does Magni compare to them? So I can quote one company that's also listed in Malaysia. The name is Lexus Berhad. So Lexus Berhad is also same business like Magni-Tech. Maybe they also share some of the clients, certain category. But I think Lexus have clients like Under Armour, if not mistaken. So one of their clients for Magni-Tech is for Lexus is Under Armour. So if you look at Lexus profit margin, historically they were not so good. They were even worse off than Magni-Tech. But when the pandemic hit, the company actually pivoted and ventured into fabric facial mask business. So they managed to actually increase the overall margin of the company because they went into the fabric facial mask production. So if you compare the latest few quarters, yeah, Prolexus is in a better business, generating a better profit because they have a special product that is stepping on the pandemic as a key profit driver. But what about post pandemic? If people don't need to wear facial masks or safety masks again, say for example, 2 to 3 years time, so will the current facial mask business be beneficial to Prolexus or not? Yeah, so that's a question you need to ask. As of these few quarters, in the pandemic, yes, Prolexus is giving a better profit margin and whatsoever. But at the long run, track record, Magni-Tech is a better performing company. So you have to do the analysis and do the comparison and try to figure out what would happen in the near term, mid term, and the long term. Then only you choose the company you want to invest in. Yeah, next question. Intra. Looking at their capex for the past few years, can we say that the management is not really aggressive in growing the company? Looks like they are pacified with what they have now. I think you have to look at it as a two-way perspective. Apparel business is highly competitive. I don't think Nike would give 100% of the apparel business to Magni-Tech. And as you all know, garment making is not high tech and it's not high IP. Basically, you just sign a contract with Nike or Adidas, and then they just give you the permission to print their logo onto the garments or products that you're making, and then you sell it back to them. So if there are more and more garment makers coming out, and some are not even listed companies, some are just small Industries Berhad, this will definitely put some pressure to Magni-Tech's growth. So the company cannot be just mindlessly spending money to expand, but in the end, there is no volume to actually grow the company. You just let the company stay idle with the machines invested, right? So you have to really understand the entire business, the potential competition the company is facing. Then only you get to make a sound judgment on whether company is aggressive or is pacified by the entire growth. So say, for example, if you were to see this kind of behavior for tech company, then yeah, you can definitely say that something is wrong, because tech scene right now is a scene where companies need to be very aggressive, buy more machines, grow more lines, build more factories, as the tech companies that we have touched previously. So yeah, if this were to happen to a tech company, this would be a valid question. But this is in a quite highly competitive apparel making business where, yeah, you really need sound justification to justify that Magni is going to grow 20 times, 30 times percent the kind of growth percentage against the previous year. So it really justifies for the company to build a new plant or build a new factory. Yeah, this is the kind of justification you need to ask whether the company is pacified or being cautious as a good thing. So yeah, anything, Chun-Bing, you want to add?
I would like to say stay tuned for what is the stock that we're going to cover next week. Hopefully it's an interesting one, but it's not going to be a Malaysian stock.
Finally.
So stay tuned to our page. We will be sharing it once it's ready. Don't worry, it will be an interesting one. Even though you are not into it, it will be a very good company to share with you.
Okay, so I also sound very interested already. So next week will be the first time ever on Not So Late Night Show. We will be sharing with you a good, exciting company, which is not based in Malaysia. And hopefully that company might just, make you guys interested into looking at investment potentials around the world. So we have talked about so many Malaysian companies. And also, if you are, quite an old timer, or you have been quite diligently and disciplined with your Thursday night spending it with us. You also look into how other companies from other parts of the world are being managed, are being run, how they allocate their capital, how they manage their balance sheet, and how they play around with their so-called profit and loss in a good way, and how we can actually learn to see our local companies from another angle. So sometimes you need to look at good companies or great companies, only you know that okay, maybe Scientex is just normal compared to a company like this in the US. So this is the kind of learning process that we have encountered as we grow on, and the more companies we study, the more we understand, and the more we learn also. So yeah, Michael, I think no worries. Thank you for enrolling. The links and the preparations are in place. We will try to come out with the preset links by, let's say, for example, now it's already second week of January. We'll try to come up with the links and the whatsoever needed preparation to the so-called participants for the Stock Plus 2021. So I think by the final week, early parts of the final week, you should be able to get the links to try to preset everything so that it will be a seamless transition for you guys to join us on the 30th and 31st of January. So no worries, the event is on, and we look forward to sharing with you guys the top 10 companies that we think would be highly potential for 2021 and beyond. So if that's it, I think we should call it for the night. Today's cases is a bit crazy, 3,000 plus. I think it's the highest number of cases in Malaysia. And as always, during these trying times, please do stay safe. Do not go out unnecessarily. And then, yeah, let's just hope that things will improve quite soon for Malaysia. And yeah, that's about it. As always, thank you guys for tuning in every Thursday 9 to 10 p.m. And we'll see you guys next week for the first ever international stock on Not So Late Night Show Kaya Plus. See you then. Bye bye.
Bye bye.